Yeah, DT looked a little rough the last couple years. It was like, I promise she could play. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta time
DT.
Retiring right at the right time because people remember you for the way that you. And it's like, nah, man. All that stuff Caitlin's doing, like, D was crossing half court. Like, she hit 10 threes, I'll never forget, in a EuroLeague game. Or to go to the championship in EuroLeague, probably a game not many people saw, but like closing her eyes, just coming off screens like this. Never seen anything like it. So with that being said, you're talking one-on-one. I think D, just because of her physicality, like just because she's bigger and stronger, I think Caitlin maybe eventually will get bigger and stronger and be able to take, but Dinah's a bully, man.
Carmelo Anthony and Kaiser Gonzix kicked off a fiery debate comparing Caitlin Clark to Diana Taurasi in a hypothetical one-on-one showdown. Candace Parker and Aliyah Boston have now weighed in on their podcast, and they didn't sugarcoat a thing. Parker explained why people overlook just how dominant she was at her peak, while Boston made it clear who she would back between Clark and Taurasi. Their reactions revealed something deeper about how stars are remembered in women's basketball. So now the question goes to you. Who wins a one-on-one right now, prime Taurasi or present-day Caitlin Clark? Drop your choice in the comments.
Caitlin Clark versus Sue Bird. Who's running the ones?
I'm taking Caitlin.
Oh, you didn't even think about it.
One-on-one?
One-on-one, yes. The reason why I say Caitlin, she's a scoring point guard. Sue has mastered being a facilitator and she makes her shots when it was important. But Caitlin's confidence, she comes off, I'm shooting first. I'm taking her because of her scoring mentality. It comes instinctive for her.
Should have put Caitlin and Taurasi.
That would have been a little different.
That's the matchup. We gonna sub Sue Bird out and bring Sis in.
I'm going with DT.
Now you talking about something different here. You talking about killer. Like, Caitlin's a killer though.
Yes, don't get me wrong.
The entire conversation began on 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, where Carmelo Anthony and Kaiser Gonzix were analyzing hypothetical WNBA one-on-one matchups. They talked about several pairings, but the one that instantly sparked the biggest reaction was Caitlin Clark versus prime Diana Taurasi. The discussion quickly shifted beyond skill alone. It became a debate about eras, physicality, play style, and how greatness gets interpreted depending on when someone watched. Carmelo and Kaiser deliberately framed Diana in her absolute prime for the comparison, which stood out immediately. They were putting peak Taurasi against a still developing Clark, which says a lot about how seriously people take Clark's current talent level. Even with Clark still growing, the fact that people are willing to stack her up against the best version of Diana tells you how high her ceiling already looks.
So 1v1 now, like best player that ends up, playing with their team or whatever, I don't know. But like one-on-one where you just checking up, like Diana will beat the shit out of you. like she gonna foul the mess out of Caitlin. It might not even be basketball.
I 100% though am rocking with my girl, Caitlin.
Okay, she got to play through contact, and
that's okay, and
like,
she
that
will.
Ain't no foul.
And she will, and when she hits you with that step back, what now?
When Candace Parker and Aliyah Boston took on the topic during their podcast, Parker instantly called out something that bothered her. Carmelo and Kaiser used the prime label for Taurasi in the Clark matchup, but when it came to comparing Parker to Aja Wilson, they didn't call her prime Candace. They just said her name with no context. Parker addressed this head-on. She explained that fans often judge a player based on the last version of them they saw, not the version they were at their best. She reminded listeners that in her final seasons, she could barely move the same way because of injuries and mileage. That declining stage is what many younger fans remember, even though it doesn't represent who she truly was during her dominant peak. Parker talked about how this perception issue played a major role in why she retired. She knew her body could no longer perform at the level her mind expected. Staying too long would only strengthen the narrative that she used to be great instead of being remembered as one of the most versatile players in league history. She even mentioned how Diana Taurasi's final years looked rough at times, not as criticism, but as the reality of an older athlete battling injuries. Taurasi played until 42, and those late years gave newer fans an inaccurate idea of her actual prime. Parker shared one unforgettable memory to highlight what peak Taurasi really looked like. a EuroLeague game where Diana drilled 10 threes to send her team to the championship. Parker described her hitting shots with her eyes closed, sprinting off screens and launching impossible attempts that still dropped. That was the real prime Taurasi, the version casual WNBA watchers never saw. When Parker finally made her pick between Clark and Taurasi in a one-on-one, she sided with Diana. Her reasoning was simple: physicality. In a pure one-on-one setting, Parker believes Taurasi would use her strength and toughness to overpower Clark. She said Diana would play brutally physical, to the point where it might not even look like clean basketball. This wasn't about who is the better team player. It was about who wins under street-style one-on-one rules. And in that environment, Parker believes Diana's strength, size, and experience would be the difference. Still, Parker noted that Clark will grow stronger over the next few years. She's still early in her career physically, but right now, Taurasi's physical edge would control the matchup. Then, Aliyah Boston gave her perspective, and she went completely the other direction. Boston said she's backing Caitlin Clark without hesitation. She agreed that Clark wouldn't get soft whistles and would have to handle contact, but she believes Clark's footwork and step-back jumper would ultimately win. Boston's view highlighted Clark's ability to create space in ways physical. Defenders can't fully neutralize. Even if someone bodies her up, if she can gain separation and hit high-difficulty shots, the physical advantage becomes less meaningful. Their contrasting picks showed their different philosophies on what wins a one-on-one battle.
Killer, but
The great white shark.
Taurasi, boy.
She's what, like Italian too?
Yeah, she all that shit, man. She, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to DT.
Asia Wilson versus Candace Parker.
I'm gonna go with Candace. I think Candace, she had a little bit more to her game on the perimeter. I think people are forgetting she was Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. Got pregnant, came back, and like she's one of those ones.
But Asia Wilson as well. I mean, that's somebody whose resume
she gets
is
better every year.
Goodness.
Like
it even felt like in the beginning of this season, people were kind of starting to write off her and the Aces, and she probably had the most impressive run
that
thus
woman's
far.
covered by God too, though.
Yeah,
she really is.
Yeah,
she's.
Asia's
I hope she doesn't
beast.
max out with her greatness.
Who you got, Mello?
Sorry, ladies. I'm gonna go with Candace. That was our era. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to see Candace really dominate. This is no comparison. I'm just saying I've seen Candace dominate as I'm going through my journey in my career. Also, her skill set. Asia's skill set is totally different. You know, she doing some.
Parker's viewpoint favors strength, toughness, and the ability to physically impose yourself on an opponent. Boston's stance emphasizes shot-making, technique, and creating room to operate with skill rather than power. Boston even added that Clark would drop Taurasi with that step back, a line that shows just how much she respects Clark's offensive craft. Boston has seen Clark up close, and she knows the difficulty defenders face trying to stop her off the dribble shooting. The podcast then branched into discussing the best pure one-on-one players currently in the WNBA. Boston immediately named Kelsey Mitchell. She said Mitchell's ball handling and quickness make her almost unguardable in isolation. Boston explained that you can't really beat Mitchell's crossovers because she waits until a defender's feet give away their next move, then explodes the opposite direction. Boston revealed she even called Chelsea Gray before a matchup against Las Vegas to give her a tip. Don't hop or shift too early. That's when Mitchell gets you. The mix of speed, handle, and unpredictability makes Mitchell devastating in pure isolation settings. Parker agreed completely. She joked that when Mitchell starts dribbling at defenders on the perimeter, her instinct is to walk away and avoid guarding her altogether because the crossovers are too dangerous. That's huge respect coming from a former Defensive Player of the Year. Boston added a playful jab, saying Mitchell perfected her one-on-one abilities because Indiana was bad for much of her career. As the lone offensive threat for years, Mitchell had to create everything herself against top-tier defenders, which developed her elite isolation game. They also brought up Napheesa Collier as another nightmare matchup. Parker called Collier annoying to guard because she has a counter move for everything. No matter how well you defend the first option, she has a backup plan, and eventually, she gets to her fadeaway. Both Parker and Boston agreed that Collier's ability to read and counter defenders makes her one of the toughest isolation scorers in the league. Section 5, all of this conversation comes at a time when Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 league, is about to begin, emphasizing isolation plays and one-on-one breakdowns. Boston joked about praying she doesn't get matched up with Kelsey Mitchell in her first game. She even joked she hopes she doesn't get stuck guarding Aliyah Boston, meaning she hopes the matchup isn't someone who can expose her in isolation. The point was clear. In this new environment, players who can win in space and create offense alone will shine. The entire debate showed something bigger than Clark versus Taurasi. It revealed how fans remember players differently depending on the era they watched. It exposed how recency bias alters perception of legends. It highlighted how younger stars are already being stacked up against the greatest of all time. And it demonstrated the evolving respect between generations of players who all understand the game from completely different angles. Whether you choose Clark or Taurasi, the truth is this debate symbolizes something deeper: the past, present, and future of women's basketball colliding in real time.